So to get started, you are going to need to craft the motion sensor itself, and you can craft the motion sensor by learning the schematic from the motion sensor schematic, which you can find in like Mopower boxes or Crackerbook boxes, or you can go into your intellect tree here and then go into advanced engineering, and then having at least level 3 in advanced engineering, this will unlock the electricity part of things. This will allow you to craft the motion sensor, which will cost you a bit of forged iron, electrical parts, and mechanical parts, which you just get from like wrenching cars, TVs, fridges, that kind of stuff. And the forged iron, obviously you can make that in the forge. Once you have your motion sensor, you're just going to plonk it down anywhere that you really need it to be, and then you press E to interact with it, and you'll have this interface. So that, just to go through what this means, at the top here is just the targeting option, so you can target yourself, your allies, your strangers, so handy for a PvP server, and then zombies. The power delay is obviously when it senses something to target, it'll wait before it turns the power on, and then the power duration is when it sees something, how long the power remains on after it stops seeing something. Okay, so yeah, you can just play this to your heart's content, and then to actually aim it, so here there is a camera preview, but you can't use it, you have to power it first. So if I just hook up this generator back to this, you'll see that I can now change the viewing angle of the camera control by left clicking on the camera control bit, and then once you're happy with the placement, you could just press escape, and then that basically triggers it. So now I'm out of range, but if I walk into range, you'll see that the yellow area that you can see me in moves as I'm moving around. Yeah, so that's how you use the motion sensor in basic form. But how do you apply it in terms of like lights, doors, and traps? So let's have a look at those. So let's have a look at lights first. So we're going to aim it into the middle of the room. So let's imagine that this is your main entryway. So I've got the door here, look, and I'm going to come into my base, and then it's going to see me and the lights turn on. So once you're happy with the placement and the camera placement, you just want to turn this on to whatever it is. So usually you don't want a power delay, you just have to have that instant, and it's up to you whether you want it triggered. So if the camera's going to see you all the time, it's going to stay on all the time. But let's say that you're going to be moving around in and out your room, let's say you're going to be out of the room for like, I don't know, 2 minutes or something like that, or you're just going to be in there for like 5 minutes, you can set it to like 5 minutes, and then basically hook it up from the motion sensor with your wiring tool, and then right click it, and then right click the light. Okay, so once you've done that, it lights up the light. So if I just turn this on to triggered, just so you can see how that would actually look when I walk in. So it's triggered now, so you can see me. So I'm going to walk out the room, the light turns off, as you can see there, the light turns off. So now I will walk in, automated lights. Okay, simple as that. So you just need to figure out the settings that you really want, that you know, whether you want it triggered or you want it on like a certain amount of time. I personally like it on for like a certain amount of time, and usually what will happen is that it'll trigger again when I move around the room. That way it doesn't turn off if I'm like out of range of the motion sensor like that. So if I'm in the corner, it's not going to see me, so the light's not on. So yeah, so very simple. You just hook it up, aim it to where you want it to be, and then hook it up to the light, and then it turns on your automated lights. All right, so let's look at automated doors. So let's look at how to automate like entries, like doors and things like that. So I've got like a powered garage door here. Now before I put this down, it's going to make this a little bit difficult if I put this down, or alternatively you put it down and then you build around it. But basically if you put it down, it's going to stop you from going in and out. So to make this a little bit easier, you can take the power. So I'm just going to use this light switch because it's already power flowing through it, and then you can either go from the outside motion sensor to the in one, or the in one to the out one. It doesn't really matter as long as the one that you connected to goes from the end of that line. So what I mean by that is, if I hook up that line to the outside motion sensor first, and then hook up that motion sensor to the inside one, all right, once they're powered, I'm going to change the viewing angle. So I kind of already did it, but I'm going to aim it right at the beginning of the door. I'm going to change the power duration to 5 seconds. This means that the garage door is going to be open for 5 seconds before closing it, right? And I'm going to do exactly the same on the inside one. So I'm going to aim it to the middle, set it for 5 seconds, right? And then once I'm happy with that, I'm going to put my garage door down like that, and then we're going to hook the motion sensor, the last motion sensor that you clicked on, and then hook it to the garage door. And as you can see, that garage door is now open for 5 seconds. And if I walk up to it again, because I set the viewing angle to be right here, to be right in front of the garage door, it now sees me, so it opens the garage door, and it's going to do it again. And then if I walk through it, walk around the side, and then walk in again, that's it. So for 5 seconds, 2, 3, 4, 5, it's going to close, just like that. The motion sensor is also really good for saving power on your base as well. So just as an example here, I've got I've got 6 shotgun turrets right here. Every single one of these takes 15 watts, okay? And I've hooked it to a generator bank. And if I just look at here, it's currently using 1 watt because it is that switch. The switch is using 1 watt. If I turn that on, every single one of these will turn on now, as you can see by the 15 watts. And if I look at the generator now, it costs 91 watts all the time. So your gas consumption is going to go through the roof. It's going to go down really, really fast. So to make it a little bit more efficient, you can hook up a generator bank to a motion sensor instead, and then hook the motion sensor up to the turret. So I'm going to quickly do this. So the motion sensor is now hooked up to all the shotgun turrets, and if I bring up my wiring tool here, you can see that they're all not powered at all. So they're all like 15 watts. Is the number of 15 watts is grayed out, but the motion sensor is still powered on for 5, right? If I just set this to aim down in the middle here, set it to triggered, let me just set it to like 1 minute, just so you guys can see, right? If you see here, the generator is only using 5 watts instead of the 91 watts that we did before, because that's the power of the motion sensor. If I set this to myself now, right, and if I walk up over here, that motion sensor is gonna see me, and these are now powered on. And if I look at the generator now, it's now 95 watts because all these are now powered. So it's now, instead of your shotgun turrets being on all the time, it only powers on when it sees something, so like a zombie or whoever really. So it's good for saving like your gas consumption over a period of time. So if say like you have a horde base, you only want it to be triggered when zombies come along, this is the way to do it as well. You can also use switches as well, but if you don't want the hassle of going over to switch and turning it back on, you can just use a motion sensor. But yeah, so this is how you can use a motion sensor to save your power. But let's put that into practical use. So here I've just made like a mock-up kind of horde base thing going on, right? So this is my horde base. I've got my barriers in front, and then on the side here I've just put a load of like dart traps as well. They're all like filled up, but as you can see, if I bring up my wiring tool, they're not powered at all, right? They're all turned off except for one thing, which is the motion sensor here at the back. So that's only on at 5 watts. So if I look at the back here, I've just hooked up a generator. You can see it's only 5 watts, and I've basically used it so that I'm only aiming it towards me, so it's looking at me. So anything beyond like this point here, the camera is not going to see it at all, so it's not going to turn on the power, right? I've also set the power duration for 10 seconds. It should trigger for more than that because the zombies are going to come in all the time, right? Once it finds the zombies, it's going to turn on all these dart traps and then should fire all the darts and kill the zombies. So let's put that into practice. I'm just going to spawn in some zombies right here. So let's just do like, I don't know, zombie biker. So as you can see, the dart traps aren't working right now, but I'm going to spawn in a zombie biker barrel. The motion sensor sees them, activates all the dart traps, and the dart traps are now firing, and they're shooting off the zombies and slowly killing them off. Like that. Okay, so you kind of get the picture. Now if I just kill them all off, if I do this 1 second, as they break through, the motion sensor turns off because there's nothing to trigger it, saving you power. So as soon as there's no zombies, all the dart traps turn off, saving you power. So that's it. So if you guys found this video helpful, please drop a like, drop a comment on any more video suggestions that you guys want to see, and I shall catch you in the next one. Peace.